Welcome to the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. I'm your host, Marty Beniaz. For over 200 years, Western New York has cultivated a rich tradition in brewing and is thriving in the current craft brew industry. Today, we'll go behind the scenes and look at some local breweries. We'll take a look into the history of Western New York brewing and learn a few things you probably didn't know about beer. Our first brewer is bringing the tradition of West Coast brewing right here to Western New York. Let's catch up with Carl. He's the owner of Pressure Drop Brewing.
My name's Carl Colby. I'm the head brewer of Pressure Drop Brewing in Buffalo, New York. Started Pressure Drop Brewing in 2017. Previously, I was living in Northern California, and I was brewing for a company out there called Need Eat Brewing Company. I was there for about 3 years, and I used all that time to basically learn every single thing that I could in order to create my own brewery. 3 years of brewing, cellaring, cleaning, and then also doing sales, working in the tasting room. Every single aspect of the business that I could get my hands on, I did. With living in Northern California, there's a very specific style that we do out there, and that's West Coast IPAs. It's crisper, it's lighter, it's drier, it's sticky, skunky, dank. The yeast itself is like much more neutral, and you're looking for an IPA that's just more refreshing, you know? Something that you can just absolutely crush. It's crisp, it's clean, it's just absolutely beautiful, but at the same point, it's so very heavily hopped that the hops just shine through on the front end with just like that nice little touch of bitter on the finish that just lets you know that it's an IPA. The first beer that we ever actually brewed here was Strummer, which is our Belgian blonde ale. The second beer we ever brewed here was Sticky Trees. But the core beers that we make like all the time that are available year round is Strummer, which is a beautiful light crisp Belgian blonde ale. It's got like just a little hint of banana and clove on the nose. It's not overwhelmingly Belgian, it's much more approachable. It's real gateway craft beer. Sticky Trees, obviously the West Coast flagship. Then another core beer that we actually came out with about a year and a half ago is Sticky Icky. So that is Sticky Trees, like kind of almost twin, but very different at the same time because it's different water chemistry, it's different yeast, but it's still all the exact same grains, it's all the exact same hops, but it comes out way softer, way juicier, but at the same point it's still got a little bit of that West Coast vibe to it where it's like kind of skunky and dank and it's got all that goodness going on. We do a lot of seasonals, right? So we'll do a beer for like October. It's called October Harvest. So that's like an Oktoberfest inspired ale. We also do our Black Delicious for wintertime. So that is our Belgian Imperial Stout that we make that we then also age in local spirit barrels. We actually brew it in the summertime and then we load it all into spirit barrels for the release. So we do 3 different spirit barrels. They're all from local distilleries. We also do a lot of sours in the summertime. Here today, we're in our beautiful production facility, which is a 20-barrel brew house, and we have 5 40-barrel tanks over there. So typically we brew twice in a day in order to fill one of the tanks up, and that's approximately 1,200 gallons worth of beer that we brew every single time. We did just open our brand new tasting room brew pub restaurant. It's at 1672 Elmwood Avenue, right in between Amherst Street and Hurdle, right across the street from the Pierce Arrow complex. It's a real opportunity for us as a business to put a face on the company. Our staff is just absolutely amazing through and through. Our head chef is just absolutely killing it in the kitchen. The food is ridiculous. I like to tell everybody that we have good beer over there, but the best brunch in the city. But at the same point in time, you can always get some amazing tacos and sliders and loaded fries and all sorts of fun stuff over there too. So right now, Pressure Drop we're expanding new markets, we're signing new distributors, we're growing across New York State as far as where we're selling beer. I mean, it's a bright future for us right now. We're super duper excited about everything that's going on.
The largest recorded glass of beer was poured at Stodfold Brewing Company in Halifax, England in 2014. This massive pint was almost 8 feet tall and contained 3,664 pints of Stodfold Gold, one for each kilometer of the Tour de France.
Welcome back to the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. Now we'll visit with another local historian, Peter Jablonski, who has an impressive collection of brewing memorabilia and history dating back from the early days of brewing in Western New York.
My name's Peter Jablonski. I'm president of the Greater Buffalo Bottle Collectors Association. One of Buffalo's first breweries was Joseph Webb, which started in 1811 in Black Rock. The brewery probably burned during the War of 1812, but the actual first brewery in the city of Buffalo was probably Captain Docks, who actually was a captain during the War of 1812, and his brewery was located at Morgan and Mohawk. Morgan is now South Elmwood. His brewery then was taken over by Hargrave and Lee. So Hargrave and Lee were also grocers, and it was common for, at this early time in Buffalo history, for brewers to have more than one business, because in the hot summer months they couldn't brew because there was no refrigeration. So Hargrave and Lee, they would use the ash from the brewing and they would make candles. So that was one of their side businesses. So this is ovoid stoneware piece. It's a very early piece of Buffalo history. This dates to 1830. One of the next early breweries in Buffalo was Heiser and Holzer. They were located on Carroll Street in Buffalo. And again, they could not brew when it was very hot in the summer. So they had a stoneware manufacturing business, and the stoneware company was Godfrey Heiser, who came from Germany. So this is an example of an early ovoid jug from the Heiser pottery. It then was taken over by his brother John Heiser, and then it later became the Braun pottery. But the Heiser and Holzer brewery burned in 1856. And it was very common to have fires in the breweries because these ovens where they were drying the malt would overheat and it would cause fires. So for example, the Phoenix Brewery in Buffalo, it was originally Albert Ziegel Brewery, which when it caught on fire, they renamed it Phoenix after the mythological character which rose from the ashes. If you live in Buffalo, you know that there's just about a bar in every corner. And the reason there was a bar in every corner is Buffalo's location on the Great Lakes made it a perfect place for brewing because they could get shipments of barley from the Midwest and from Canada, and also the early German and Irish immigrants that were used to drinking beer, and also that was their industry. So the source of water, the source of ice from the lakes that they needed, and there were many breweries had ice caves. And during construction, for example, of the subway, they discovered caves that were from the breweries where they were storing beer in the summer months to keep it cold. And of course, the Erie Canal, that increased the size of the city and the number of people who were drinking beer. And also we talked about Heiser pottery. They could not make the stoneware until the Erie Canal came in and they could ship the quality clay from Long Island and from New Jersey.
Not only is there an incredible collection of craft beer available today, but cocktail fans are enjoying a resurgence with local craft distillers. Let's take a visit with Kevin Thomas over at Western Reserve Distillers.
Hey there, Buffalo. Welcome to the Western Reserve Distillers Cocktail Corner. Right now in New York, we have our 4-year bourbon, which is going to be a 70% corn, 15% wheat, 15% rye mash bill. We distill it up a little bit higher, so just short of that 160 proof. It's been aged for a little over 4 years in newly charred American oak. Delicious bourbon, good everyday product, great for making cocktails. Got a little bit of that spice in there, but it's also a good sipper. It's a good sipper at night. We have our Oloroso Sherry finished bourbon, which is just this guy actually finished in Spanish Oloroso Sherry casks. 94 points at this year's Beverage Testing Institute. Actually one of the top bourbons in the country this year. And then we've also got our Caribbean cask rye, which unlike a lot of the other Caribbean cask ryes is only going to be a 51% rye, 49% hard red winter wheat. A little bit softer, again 4 to 5 year product. It's going to be aged in a Caribbean cask between 10 to 12 months. It's got a beautiful notes of the Caribbean, and then also got that good backbone of the American whiskey in there. This is our Reposado. You notice it has a little bit of a kind of a dark amber color to it. So really what we do first is we do the fermentation of that organic agave. It comes off the still and looks just like water, a little bit higher proof than water, but we let it sit for about 45 days or so just to kind of have it rest, let the flavors meld, and also let some of the oils kind of settle. And then what we do is we actually take our used bourbon barrels after we freshly dump them, we fill them with basically that clear Blanco, and then after about 10 to 12 months, we'll harvest those barrels, and that's really what kind of makes it a reposado. It means rested in Spanish. So it has to be less than a year, it has to be more than basically 60 days. We like it a little bit closer towards that 12-year mark. Gives it a little bit more of kind of the caramel and some of the sweet notes of the bourbon, married with the delicious flavor of the agave plant.
Bourbon is always the best seller. So once we were able to get bourbon out there, that has become the best seller. However, I will say we now have agave spirits, and our Reposado agave has taken off, and it's quickly gaining on our bourbon, quickly gaining in popularity. Both our Reposado and Añejo are actually aged in our bourbon barrels. So our Reposado sits about 10 months in our bourbon barrels. Our Añejo is at about 14 months. So they both have a really nice finish on them. The Añejo starts to pick up, it sits just long enough, it starts getting some of the bourbon caramely notes, some of the oak flavors. So over a block of ice, fresh squeeze of lime, it sips like a great bourbon. If we were making it in one of the 5 states in Mexico, we would be able to call it tequila. However, we make it in Lakewood, Ohio, so we must call it agave spirits. It is made from 100% organic Blue Weber agave, and we work with an organic farming co-op out of Jalisco, Mexico. So because it is done in the United States, we cannot legally call it tequila, we have to call it an agave spirit.
We'll be right back with more of the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. But here's another fun fact about beer that you might not know.
In ancient Viking culture, women were in charge of finances, land cultivation, and most importantly, only women could brew beer, with all of the equipment for brewing belonging exclusively to women. The beer was made from a mixture of wheat, rye, barley, and other fruits and herbs.
Welcome back to the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. Consumers Beverages has been around since 1948 and is proud to be Buffalo's beer store with the largest selection of craft beer and cider in Western New York. Let's catch up with the president of Consumers, Neil Cavanaugh.
So my dad started Consumers Beverages in 1948 with 3 other gentlemen, and their objective was to home deliver beer and soda pop to the residents of Erie County. The other gentleman that he started the business with left the business within a few years of its inception. However, my dad kept the business going and grew from 15 truck routes up to 50 truck routes by about 1966, at which time he started opening retail stores as the community in Western New York grew and people's desire to buy beer on their way home from work grew. He was able to open more stores. Our first store opened in 1966 on South Park Avenue in South Buffalo, and we've now grown to 18 locations over Erie and Niagara County. When the business first started, they had 5 brands of beer and 2 brands of soda pop that they distributed, that consumers distributed. And they, in 1950, opened up a soft drink bottling plant in the building at Genesee and Bailey, and we were manufacturing soda pop until 1988. We had 17 different flavors of regular, 5 different flavors of diet in 10-ounce bottles and 32-ounce bottles, but as 2 liters prevailed in the market, and we sold the property where the bottling plant was housed, we focused more on the beer end of things. And when the company started, as I said, there were 5 brands of beer. Today we have nearly 3,000 different brands of beer in stock at each of our stores, all available ice cold. So I like to tell people that my dad took me to work on Take Your Son to Work Day when I was 9 years old, and he hasn't sent me home yet. My first job at Consumers was washing the floors in the offices, which are located in South Buffalo. When I was in 6th grade, on Saturdays and Sundays, my dad would take our whole family to work and assign us each a job. So it's truly a family-run business, family-owned business, and many members of our family are still here today. We've been able to grow the business in Western New York because of our loyal and dedicated staff members. We have multiple staff members who have been on staff for 20, 30, up to 50 years. We have many retirees in the community, but without our loyal and dedicated staff members, we would not have been able to serve the patrons in Western New York that are interested in having cold, fresh beer, especially local beers, at their convenience at any one of the 18 consumer beverage locations. We have over 3 buyers in our central office in South Buffalo that are currently seeking out craft beers from the local breweries as well as regional breweries, breweries in Canada, breweries across the world. We also have a network of distributors that bring us the products and the items that we currently have in stock. And there's been quite an influx of new items lately, including lemonades and teas and ready-to-drinks. And we search the world and we search the globe to find the items that our customers are looking for. The local breweries in Western New York put out unbelievable products. We have over 20 Western New York breweries that we feature in store. Each one of the breweries brings their own specialty items to the table, and it's one-stop shopping for people interested in local beers. We have an opportunity to continue to grow the business in Western New York. We're celebrating our 75th year. We have plans on deck to build 2 more stores in Western New York. I have 3 sons that are actively in the business, and we're looking forward to a bright future for Consumers Beverages.
Before we go, we'll introduce you to the sponsor of today's show, the Tinderbox in Williamsville. It's been the go-to cigar shop for beginners and connoisseurs alike. Now let's hand it off to Jim Dvorak, who'll tell us a little bit more about the Tinderbox.
Back in 1995, my father felt there was a need for a premium cigar shop in Western New York. He had a job that traveled all through the U.S., and there was really nothing in Western New York. He retired from his day job, and we opened the business. We feel we got one of Western New York's largest selection. We also felt the need for that, in that when we went to other cities and stuff, the selection was definitely a lot larger than anything we had seen in Western New York, and we wanted to be that premium selection. There's 3 main growing regions cigars come from: Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and Honduras. Back in '95, most of the cigars came from the Dominican, and it seems that as people's tastes, evolved, Nicaraguan tobacco became more sought after just because it's a little more complex, a little more character to it, where Dominican cigars tend to be the milder ones on the market, which are good for, occasional smokers or new cigar smokers. Almost in the beginning, we were approached by Davidoff to be a white label dealer. We're exclusive to Western New York, and actually we're exclusive pretty much to the Niagara region. The closest store is Syracuse, or you actually got to leave the state and hit up Pittsburgh. So we're an exclusive Davidoff retailer, which is a high-end cigar, and quite an honor to carry. We do get usually a large selection of limited cigars. And they, again, tend to come around the holidays, Father's Day, Christmas. So we have one of the largest selection of rare cigars, whether it's in the Fuente, Opus X, Oliva, even rare Cohibas and Monte Cristos. I would say not only next to one of the largest cigar selections in Western New York, our accessories. We feature at least 3 different manufacturers of lighters, which are lifetime warranty lighters, large selection of humidors, leather carrying cases, travel humidors, and again, other accessories, whether it's the Bovita humidifiers, digital hydrometers, and quite a knowledgeable staff to help you. Our lounge is a public lounge. The only rule per se is that you do have to purchase the cigar from us to use our lounge. We have some of the more comfortable lounge chairs in Western New York. Our chairs are from Dream Seat, which you'll find in a lot of professional sports locker rooms. Quite comfortable chairs. We got bar seating too. We just installed a new HVAC system that is absolutely wonderful. Probably the best in Western New York. So it really does help minimize the smoking in the store. Just like everybody else is doing, we do have what's called a Connoisseurs Club. It's a loyalty program. You get a point for every purchase, and eventually when you get to a certain dollar amount, you start getting $5 coupons, if you will, which will be off your total purchase. We have quite a large selection of pipe tobacco, whether it's aromatic and some English blends. Our pipe selection, we try to keep up on our pipe selection. At times it is quite large, especially around the holidays. We try to thicken up with pipes. And again, those accessories, whether it's pipe lighters, cleaners, carrying cases for pipes. We try to feature several in-store events. They usually happen a lot more during the summer because of the sales reps or the cigar celebrities traveling more so during the summer. But we try to feature large events at least once a month. Those events will include buying events. Swag has gotten quite popular with the manufacturers, so usually not only are there gratis cigars involved with the purchase, there's usually very nice items, whether it's lighters, humidors, or large raffle prizes.
The study of beer includes analyzing of ingredients and their effects on the brewing process, knowledge of beer styles and history, and the application of food pairings. What is its official name? Is it A, fermentology, B, zithology, C, trophology, D, rheology? The answer is B, zithology.
Thank you for watching the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. Cheers, na zdrowie. We'll see you next time.